Okay, hello everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Beach Family Summit. Thank you all so much for your patience as we were bringing on more folks to today's webinar meeting. Really excited to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining us for this afternoon's presentation. I'm Nina Luxon. I'm the program coordinator for New Student and Family Programs. If you attended Parent and Family Orientation or you just previously went to our Beach Family Night, you likely have already met me, so welcome. If you have not met me, I work with New Student and Family Programs. So our parent and family programs, our parent and family events, our new student orientation in SOAR. So all of the new students come through us out of high school. So that's really who we work with is our new students and also our parents of current students. So you're in the right place if you're here for the Beach Family Summit. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. How today's event is going to work is we are going to start with, we're having a presentation from three different campus departments today. We'll start with a presentation from our team, from New Student and Family Programs, where we will talk about how we engage with your students past orientation. So we'll talk about how do we bring on students, how do we keep working with them throughout the academic year, and support them through the transition from high school to college. And then at the very end, that'll be about a 30-minute presentation. We will open up the floor to questions for about 10 minutes. So if you do have questions throughout today's presentation, please feel free to drop them in the bottom part. You'll see Q&A. That is a Q&A box. Please submit them through the Q&A box. That will be the best way that we can see those questions and answer them. We will answer them live at the very end, but please don't enter any questions into the chat box. That will not be monitored as regularly. So if you could please submit any questions that you may have through the Q&A box. After I answer questions for New Student and Family Programs, we will welcome our counseling and psychological services team. They'll come on and talk about how to support your student, now that they have transitioned over to college for the first semester and things are feeling a little bit different, especially as they start coming back home and as it relates to holidays and things like that. A student's perspective and their, the way that they walk about life can change drastically. So we want to learn how to support our students in that way. And then finally, after we have a 10-minute Q&A for counseling and psychological services, we will welcome our Bob Murphy Access Center to talk about how we support students here that may need accommodations or may have disabilities. If your student finds that they're struggling or that they're trying to figure out how to best support themselves through college, they can definitely check out the Bob Murphy Access Center. They will come on and give a presentation, and then they will do Q&A as well. So that is how today's going to work. It's going to be those three departments. Again, New Student and Family Programs, Counseling and Psychological Services, as well as the Bob Murphy Access Center. So all of them will be available today. You can feel free to stay on the whole time or just join for the meetings that you're interested in. But with all of that being said, this is also being recorded. So this conversation will be recorded and posted onto the Parent and Family YouTube channel later today. So if you would like to see this at a later time, you absolutely can as well. We just appreciate you all being here. So thank you for so much. All right, with that, we are going to go ahead and begin with the presentation portion of our program today. So thank you all so much again for jumping on. I'll give this presentation about how are we supporting your students beyond orientation. And I will go ahead and begin that now. I hope everybody can see my screen. I saw a few thumbs up there a minute ago. Okay, perfect. Yes. So beyond the swag bag, this is a presentation that we also give at our national orientation conferences when we go. And this is really talking about how we're supporting our students beyond that SOAR summer orientation. If there's any folks here that attended parent and family orientation over the summer, that was ran by me. You got to learn a lot about the university as a whole. So when you learn about just the basics of how your student is going to engage here and what we offer for them here when they first come in, you learned a lot about that. This is more so specifically about what we do for your students past that. When we start bringing them into the fall, what can happen is that a lot of students will come into the university setting, they'll go to SOAR, they'll feel supported for a little bit, and then once the semester starts, they don't know which offices to go to. Maybe they're not comfortable doing so, going into specific offices, right? So we're going to talk about some of the ways that we really encourage your students to be involved with the campus and how to access resources and how we really support them beyond the SOAR orientation. So again, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please drop them in the Q&A box below. I'm happy to answer those at the end of today's presentation. Awesome. So again, welcome from all of us here at the beach. We're really happy to have you. Our office tends to have a fun time all year round. We're bringing in all of our new students and families in the summer, and then in the academic year, we're hosting events like this. So we tend to do 2 events in the fall and 2 events in the spring for parents and families in particular. And we do various other events for students throughout the year. We just did one today. It was a iced coffee program for students to come and get free iced coffee and learn about what programs we do throughout the year. So we do various of those throughout the year. So what we'll talk about today as part of our presentation is CSULB demographics. Where are we coming from? What is our student population and what kinds of students are we supporting? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about our orientation model a little bit, how we continue orientation and helping your student helping your student acclimate to the university setting. First year beach connection events that we do, these are for our first year students and our students that are, curious about getting to know more about the campus. Our texting campaign that we have on campus, which you may have already learned about. The campus-wide impact and retention, how does this impact our students? And then we'll take questions at the end. So that is how it is going to work today. Awesome. So providing you a little bit of information about the beach, and if you have, already helped your student apply and get into the university, you likely know a lot of this information already. But we are considered a large university. We are one of the largest in the CSU. We have about 39,000 students actively enrolled at our university, and that is our student population that we support. We have about 120,000 applicants every year, but for fall 2025, we had about 120,000 applicants. So we are one of the most applied to schools in the nation. Our population is one of also the most diverse in the nation. So we are an HSI, which is a Hispanic serving institution. We are an Asian American and Pacific Islander serving institution. And 60% of our students at our university are first generation or are learning about college for the first time. So that's for students that may not have had parents that went to college or any family members that went to college. And we support about 60% of our population in that. And we have over 300 plus clubs, student organizations, and societies for students to join. And so we really try and SOAR during their orientation to expose them to all of these, right? To give visibility to these different areas that we help support your students past their summer semester, going into their fall semester. So a little bit more about the beach, bragging about the beach. We are one of the top 5 public universities in the West, according to the U.S. News and World Report. We have 85 plus undergraduate and 65 plus graduate programs here at the beach to support all of those students. And we are top 10 in the nation for advancing social mobility. There are a few other superlatives that we've just been granted. Those are not reflected in here yet, but we have a lot of different things that are really great here at the beach that are being noticed. And we really make strong efforts to support our students, especially our office, but various other offices as well. Some of our notable alumni, you may already know this. So Steven Spielberg is an alumni of our university. Kevin McCarthy, who's the mayor of Sacramento, is an alumni. Robert Garcia in the U.S. House of Representatives, an Olympic gold medalist. Again, the Olympics are coming in 2028. So one of those Olympians have graduated from the beach, as well as illustrators, directors, things like that. So we offer a variety of different majors and interests for students to partake in, to learn more about, and we have a very successful alumni pool as well. Part of what we do as parent and family programs, which I'll talk about in a little bit, is an event in the spring called Meet the Beach Leadership Mixer. That is where we invite parents and families to come to campus, and they can mix and mingle with some of our key campus administrators, but also CSULB alumni. So we brought a few different alumni this past year that served on a panel and were able to answer questions about how did the beach support them in their professional journey. So we'll talk a little bit more about that opportunity here in a little while, but some of the key alumni from our university were present at that event, and they will be again. So we're really excited to share that. Awesome. So new student and family programs in particular at CSULB. What does our department do? In the summer, New Student and Family Programs does our SOAR, so our student orientation, advising and registration for our first year students and our transfer students that are coming from community college mostly. Parent and Family Orientation, which likely a lot of you have attended. First year Beach Connections, which are again those student events that we do throughout the year, as well as parent and family programming and our new student texting campaign. So you may have heard about a lot of these things Again, in the summer, we do SOAR and PFO every day, averaging around 400 students and 90 family members a day. In the academic year, we host a variety of events for students, families, and supporters and manage the texting campaign. In summer 2025, again, we welcomed about 12,300 plus incoming students, about a 60-40 split between first time, first year, which are the students fresh out of high school mostly, and our transfer students coming from community college or another four-year institution. And we welcomed over 2,300 plus family members as well. So that's a little bit about what our office does throughout the year, and how we are engaging with our students and who are we bringing in every year. So I talked a little bit about this earlier, but really the impact of orientation. What do we try to do with our SOAR orientation? During SOAR in the summer, we really want to help students establish a sense of identity within the campus. And we want to expose them to as many resources and departments that we have to support them as possible. So we expose them to the campus amenities, and we provide them with important information and tools to succeed. That is essentially what we try to do during the summer orientation, is start touching on all of those points of support that we have for our student population. Now, the challenge with that is that going past the summer, the students have all of these great tools and they know about these things, but actually using these resources can sometimes be intimidating for our students. So creating connections with new resources can be challenging for students if they are not comfortable walking into an office, right? They maybe are having making these connections without knowing how to use them, and that can leave students feeling lost. And though the support is available and the students know generally about it, students are not always comfortable reaching out. So our effort of doing our first year Beach Connection events and also our parent family events is that we can help students in that transition over to these departments and to utilize these departments because they're here for your students, to support your students. So what else do we do in the academic year to support your students? We have our parent and family programs, which are our parent family events, like this one. So thank you for coming to one of our parent and family events. We have our first year Beach Connection events and then our new student texting campaign. So I'll break down each one just a little bit more for you to understand. Parent and family programs. So we do various parent and family events throughout the year. Like I said, we tend to do 2 events in the fall and 2 events in the spring for you all to engage with. Our biggest event that we do is called Beach Family Night. It was actually just about a week and a half ago. If anybody in here was at Beach Family Night, drop a thumbs up. I would like to know who all was there. But we had over 600 family members and students there to celebrate the beach and to come for a night of food, fun, games. Awesome. I see that we have somebody here. It was a pregame tailgate before supporting the women's volleyball game. So it was a lot of fun. And we do this event every year. So if you didn't get to go this year, definitely check it out for next year. We really want to bring you all to campus. We also do our Beach Family Summit, which is this. We do this every semester. So we have, this time we're covering new student and family programs, counseling and psychological services, and Bob Murphy Access Center. And next semester, we may cover things like education abroad, if your student wants to study abroad, right? We may cover our academic support center, things like that. So you filling out that interest form is really crucial to help us understand what you all would like to know about. So we do this every semester. So thank you for coming to our first one, as well as our Meet the Beach Mixer. As I've already said a little bit about, we bring key campus administrators as well as alumni for an evening of conversation, connection over some appetizers and things, and we do a panel. It was a really great event that we did last year as well. So we really appreciate, you all getting involved in those ways. Here's some cute pictures from these events. I really like to share visuals because it helps you kind of understand, what these events feel like. And it really does feel like a lot of fun when we have more parents there. So really encouraging you all to be actively involved in your students' college journey by attending our parent and family events. It really is a hoot every time you guys come out. So thank you so much. And throughout the year, other than our parent and family events, we have our Beach Family newsletter, which likely you have already been subscribed to. That's probably how you got today's information. If you have not yet and you have not signed up for our Beach Family newsletter, I would highly suggest that you scan the QR code and do so. Our Beach Family newsletter comes out every 2 weeks. You just got one today. So the next one will be not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. And we send this every 2 weeks to give families free email updates about what's going on campus, parent-family events. It gives our registration sheets and things, as well as just staying connected and informed. So providing parent-family resources, key dates and deadlines. So like our graduation deadline, apply to graduation is today. So if your student is graduating in the spring or the summer and they need to apply to graduate, they need to do that by today. We give some financial aid deadlines as well. So it's a really important tool for all of our parents and families to utilize. We really suggest that you do. So if you have not already, please scan this QR code, register for the Beach Family newsletter. We only email you every 2 weeks, so we don't bug you too much, but it's really important for you all to get to know a little bit more. Awesome. First year beach connections. So part of our first year beach connections, what we do after orientation is within the first week of school, starting in the fall and in the spring, we host what's called lifeguard stations. These lifeguard stations are held by our office all around campus. There's 7 different locations where we set up shop from 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. purely to help students, provide them directions, resources, referrals. If any students are really needing some support, we can refer them to different campus departments or our, CARES team, our counseling and psychological services. Some students will come up and tell us that they need help. And so that's what we're there for. We staffed 4 lifeguard stations in the fall of 2024. I believe this last fall we did 7, and we supported around 3,114 students in fall 2024. That is a lot of students in that span of time. So we do this every fall and spring for students to come up and ask questions. So if your student is texting you saying, I don't know where I'm going and I don't know what to do, please tell them to come and find us at a lifeguard station. We're in all the popular places around campus. We're happy to provide that support to them. So that's an effort of what we do in the first week. Now, past the first week, again, we do various events all throughout the year to support your students, such as themed events. So we're doing an event coming up that's actually called Haunted Hangout, but this year it's called Monster Mash and Campus Dash. So that is going to take place on October 30th. Your students can register for it in their Events and Orgs Chicklet on their student portal. But essentially, they get to go trick-or-treating to different departments around campus to see, where is that resource, right? Get them comfortable walking in the door and have a little bit of fun with it. They get to dress up, they get to get candy, and they get to meet these different departments, and that is a really great way for them to start getting comfortable going into those offices, right? So that's an event that we're doing October 30th. We just, again, did one today for our iced coffee event for students to tell us a little bit more about what kinds of events they want to attend and when is the best time for them. We also do speed friending, which is an event that we do around Valentine's Day, and that's where students can all go together and we host a big mingling event for them to learn about different people and make friends pretty quickly during the speed friending event. We do that with ASI every February. We also do de-stress events. So around finals time, you will see us going around with a wagon full of snacks, candy, drinks, things, Scantrons, blue books, things that students may need, and we're called finals fairies. So you can see right up here that we really do wear the fairy wings, and we go around campus giving people, their little wand and a snack to help them get through finals. We also do movie nights and things like that. So we do various events throughout the year. Your student can find more information about all of our events, again, through their Events and Orgs Chicklet that's on their student portal. They can see all the campus events that are going on there throughout the year through Events and Orgs, and just really encourage them to get involved, right? Try it out. You never know what you're going to find, and you never know how much fun you're going to have unless you go. So please encourage them to go to many of our free or low-cost events all throughout the campus. All of our clubs and orgs post on here as well. So FYBC, again, it really brings students together, provides them a place of connection, but it also promotes cross-departmental support. So your students are meeting these different resources face to face. They're going to the office, right? They're finding comfort in these offices and learning about where they are so that they can utilize them at a later time. That's the goal. So that's a little bit about our first year beach connections. And then our new student texting campaign. So what is our new student texting campaign that we have? This is a peer-to-peer texting campaign that really supports our first semester students' academic, social, and personal transition over to university life. So we partner with key campus student affairs departments to bring on student assistants, and we provide peer-to-peer support for our students via text. So when our students, are on their phones all day long, we know that by texting them, they're able to see that message. And we say something like, "Hi, this is Sam from CSULB." It will always be Sam from CSULB. So if your student is ever questioning of who's texting them, if it says Sam at CSULB, that is always our department. And we say, "This is Sam at CSULB checking in. Do you have any questions for us?" From there on, your student can text us a question that they have at any time. They can text us at any time. They don't have to wait for another message to come in after they receive that first message. They can text us at any time asking for support, asking a question, anywhere from "Where is this office on campus?" to "What's the best place to eat around here?" to "I am really struggling and I need help. What's available?" They can ask us anything at all, at any time. We really do want to emphasize with this that this is a peer-to-peer texting campaign. This is not AI. This is not chatbots. This is not artificial in any way. This is real students reaching out to your student to provide them this support. And these students are trained through these various different offices to provide this support to your students. So because of that, your student can text this at any time. However, they can expect a response back between standard working business hours. That is Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. But we really just try to provide our new students with easy access to various offices and individuals who can provide them resources, encourage success, offer advice, advocate for students in need, right? And we ensure adequate care for our CSULB students campus-wide through this initiative. So if your student ever receives a text from Sam at CSULB, please tell them it's not a scam. It is not spam. We are really trying to support them and provide them encouragement throughout this semester and provide them office information as well as they need it. Again, supporting student success. So a little bit more of why do we do this? We engage a large, diverse student body. Again, we have a student population of about 39,000 on our campus. So by proactive outreach, we are able to reach out and support students before issues become crises. Because what can sometimes happen is when our students come into our university, they say, "I know I need help. I just don't know where to go, and I don't know which office is what," right? "I don't feel comfortable walking into an office." And so a lot of them don't deal with what's going on. They don't get support. They kind of just shove it off to the side until it becomes a much bigger issue later on. So with this proactive outreach, by texting them and by providing lifeguard stations and things, we're able to nick a lot of those issues before they become crises. So we provide that support from the jump, and students are able to take advantage of that. For our texting campaign and our FYBC, peer engagement research shows that authentic connections through peers and mentors are highly effective in motivating and supporting students. So by being out there, by providing this texting service, by hosting these events, students are more likely to succeed and they feel supported. So that's why we do this. We always want to go beyond reminders. So we're always trying to connect with the students, asking open-ended questions, making sure that students have the space to come to us to share any struggles that they may be having, right? Or just beyond completing modules. We don't want to just give them modules to complete. We want to actively engage with them through these events and through the texting campaign. And with the texting campaign in particular, convenience and real-time support. So texting meets students where they're at, providing them timely help that aligns with their daily needs. They don't have to leave class, for 15 minutes to come to an office to ask a question. They can come and text us, and we're able to provide that information at their fingertips, which, as you know, they're on their phones all throughout the day. So these are reasons that we do what we do, and our effort in supporting student success. So how does the campaign work? I already shared a little bit about this, but we send a mass text to all of our students the first month of the semester. So we send them a text that says, "Hey, this is Sam at CSULB checking in. Do you have any questions for us?" We then text them 3 times throughout the semester. This semester is a little bit different. We are transitioning vendors, so we've already texted your students once. They can expect to receive another text at the start of the spring semester, but they should have that phone number that they were texted by, and then they can still text us through that number. But until then, they won't receive any more check-in texts from Sam as we're making our transitions over to a different vendor. But when that starts back up, it'll be the same principle. They'll receive a mass text from us saying, "This is Sam at CSULB. What questions do you have?" We text them 3 times throughout the semester traditionally, but students can reach out at any time. So again, they can expect a response within standard working business hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., as we are actively working with our real life students to answer these questions. And we support about 12,000 new students in our other campus departments, which are counseling and psychological services, our Beach Connection, Beach XP. All of these departments support continuing students, so students past the first year. Our office oversees all of the first year students. So that's kind of how we support our students and break up the quantity. When we are training our students, there are a few things that we do to make sure that they are effectively communicating with your students and providing them real accurate information. So I thought I'd share a little bit about our expectations for our peer beach guides, which are our students that answer these texts. One is that the students that are trained to respond to your students are always maintaining confidentiality. They maintain the privacy of other students. They don't share any of the information that your student texts. So if your student texts us and says that they're having a really rough time or wants to share some personal information, none of that information is disclosed. That student's information will remain confidential unless there is a situation where they feel that they are a threat to themselves or others. In that case, a staff member will step in and will provide them proper care and support to help them through that hard time. Accuracy and reliability is another key part of this. So if a student is unsure about a topic, our students will always say, I don't know much about this. However, I know who does, and connect them to a campus resource. We will always connect them to a campus resource, which moves into the next point, use of CSULB resources. We will always refer them to CSULB resources because A, it's included with their tuition, but B, they're reliable resources that your student can use on our campus at any time. So we really try to make sure that we're using CSULB campus resources unless it's a case of your student asking, what's the best place to eat off campus, right? Sometimes we have that. If a student is asking, what's the best place to eat over on this corner, our students will answer that. But other than that, it will always be an official CSULB campus resource to prove that, or to expect that they are receiving reliable sources and guidance and resources on this campus. We maintain all of these conversations, not the specifics of the conversations, but the general topics. So if your student says, I'm really struggling academically and I need tutoring support, we log that into a form so that we know later on, when we collect all of our data, we say, what did the students that we supported struggle with the most this year? A lot of our students have questions about academics or advisors. And that is something we know to expect. But we wouldn't know that unless we collected data of students' general concerns and general questions so that we can best support them later on. So we know what kinds of questions they're asking to prepare our students and train them for further support. And then timely responses. So if your student texts us, they will always receive a timely response. They can expect a response within 2 hours during our peak times or by the end of the day. They can usually expect a response pretty quickly. We have students that check these messages every day. So if your student has a question, please tell them to text us. We are reliable and we want to provide them support on key campus resources that are here at CSULB. Awesome. And that is a little bit about our office and how we support your students beyond orientation. This is now the time for any questions that you may have. Questions, comments, clarifications. If you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A box. I'm happy to answer those. And we will do this for the next about 10 minutes. And then at 4:45, we will welcome our counseling and psychological services to come and talk to you all about how they support your students past orientation. So the Q&A box is open. Please feel free to submit any questions. We'll do this for about the next 10 minutes. Any questions that you all have, please submit them. And then you can scan this QR code to access our website, which houses a lot of the information that we told you all about today. You can find all of the information about our parent and family events and things like that all on this website. So please feel free to scan this QR code and access our website. But if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A box. Or you can feel free to unmute, whatever works for you.
When do you start thinking about housing for next year for kids that are freshmen this year?
Yeah, thank you, Lori. Good question. So, housing is actually through our Housing and Residential Life Office, and they work throughout the year to start preparing the new applications for the new students to move in and things like that. So, I don't actually work in that office, but I would definitely recommend that you check out their website. They will post all of the information about the housing application, when it goes live, and when all of those deadlines are on their website, which is if you just go up to the top of the CSULB website and type in housing and residential life, all of that information will be available on there of when it goes live. Typically, that information will be communicated starting in the spring semester. So you can expect to start applying for housing and things in the spring semester. What other questions do we have?
I had another question,
Yeah.
and it was in reference to the uh, education support and class support. I saw that it looks like it's sort of reserved first for different people students that qualify in different ways, like you mentioned, first, they're first out of their family going to college, et cetera. At the time, I wasn't able to enroll my daughter. Is that something that where there's openings on an ongoing basis that we could check if she just needs some additional help?
For academic support, I don't believe that they do have certain programs that are here for our first generation student population, such as TRIO, which is our first generation student support. But our academic support center and our learning center is open to all students, and that is in the student success building that is behind the BMAC office up by the bookstore in Upper Campus. And students can walk in and receive support at any time, any student. We have tutoring available for all of our students to come in and get tutoring. We have a writing center there, so if a student needs help with their writing, they can walk in. They can also make an appointment. So the way that they would make an appointment is through their student portal, through something called Beach Connect, or they can go to the Learning Center and make an appointment there. And they can receive academic support at any time. There's only few specific programs that are available for, and exclusively for our students that are first generation and things. However, the Learning Center, the Academic Support Center, and our tutoring and academic resources are available for all of our students on campus. So I would encourage them to look it up online. They can look up the Learning Center, they can go onto their student portal and see any appointments that are available, or connect with their academic advisor as well. Their academic advisor will have a lot of the information for providing support and academic support, and how do they reach out to a tutor, how do they, get academic support. Their advisor will have all of that information as well. I hope that provides a little bit of clarity. What other questions do we have? Good questions.
Can I ask about classes for next year? When did they start signing up for classes for next semester?
You can. Good question. I'm trying to figure that out as well. I am in my master's program here, so I am also waiting to know about when to register for classes. What I have heard is that registration for students will open up. They'll receive their registration appointment. So that is the allocated date and time in which they will be able to register for classes, which is set up through a variety of different filters, such as our senior students will get priority to pick their classes so they can get the classes they need, right? Then our third years, our second years, and our first years to make sure that everybody is getting the courses that they need. But they will actually receive that appointment letter, and I believe the last week of October is when they'll receive that appointment letter to tell them when to register for classes. They can actually register for classes the first week of November. They will receive again their appointment letter. So, sometime in October, they may say November 2nd at 1 p.m. is your appointment time. That's when you can register for classes. We really do encourage that students register at that time. They want to register close to that time as possible so they can make sure that they are getting the classes that they need. Some of our students say like, oh yeah, that's my appointment letter, but I can do it anytime after that. And then they don't register at that time, and then they find out that one class that they needed filled up. And so then they go to their academic advisor, oh, like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? That's why we really suggest that they register at that time. They can go in right now to their student portal, to their My CSULB Student Center, and they can fill up what's called their course shopping cart after they meet with their academic advisor. We really suggest that they meet with their advisor first, but they can add up courses to their course shopping cart that they need to build their schedule for the spring semester. And then when their appointment time comes around, all they would have to do is go to checkout, and they would already have those courses in there, loaded, ready to go. And they can do that ahead of time by just choosing their classes and things, but actually registering for those courses will be in the first week of November. I hope that provides a little bit of clarity. I know I'm waiting on my appointment letter as well. I'm like, oh, when is it coming?
Oh, that was perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
Quick question.
Okay, I received a question in the chat. Thank you so much. If you do have questions, I would really please suggest put them through the Q&A section at the bottom. That is the best way to get your questions answered, especially with our different departments coming on. They know to look at the Q&A box, so definitely submit them through the Q&A. But I will answer the question in the chat. It says, I remember hearing in a Zoom that job postings for the spring will go live in November or December. Can you remind me of where my child should be looking for these? So your student should be looking, if they're interested in getting a job on campus, they should be looking through what's called CareerLink. CareerLink is an app on their student portal that shows them all of the job opportunities on campus and also professional development events. It connects them to our Career Development Center, things like that. And then also at the Beach Family Summit that we have in the spring, we had it last spring, but we will have it again in this coming spring. We will bring our career and professional development team to talk about how to access those jobs. Students can start looking for jobs in the spring. Again, like you mentioned, around November or December, but really CareerLink is open at any time. So your student can log on today and look and see what jobs are available. The biggest recruiting season, I will tell you all this, for many departments for the following academic year is April and May. So a lot of departments will really start looking for students to hire in April or May for that next academic year. So if your student is looking to get a job for the 2026-2027 year, which seems like so far away now, but if they're looking to get a job during the academic year, they can look now, but really the jobs will be starting to really post April and May. So have them look around that time. For the winter semester, or for the spring semester, excuse me, start looking now, but November and December is when you'll start being able to see those things. Awesome. I see a question in the Q&A box. Okay. Any updates on alternative dining options opening up while the student union is closed? I heard one of them recently closed. Great question. Thank you. So if you actually look online, let me stop sharing my screen. So our Future You project, they have an entire website that talks about the different food options that we have on campus and where things have relocated to. So in the student union was, yes, food options, but also various departments on campus that provided student support. Everything that was in the student union is still on campus, just in different areas. For food in particular, we have brought on various different food trucks, food relocation things, and also new food vendors. I'm going to drop this link in the chat so that you all can see food information here. You'll be able to click on that link and see all of the food places, campus eateries and things to see where can students eat on campus and when are things opening. Our stuff that was in the student union, such as our, I believe it's the Nugget, did close. However, they're opening up a mobile kitchen as well. So all of that information of when that opens and when it's going live is available on that website. So go ahead and click on that and you can explore a little bit more. And then I do see one other question before we move on to our next presenter. So this says, is FAFSA behind? My son was not able to play classes on hold, waiting for the middle class and FAFSA to kick in. That's a really great question that I would reach out to the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office for. They will be able to provide the best support when it comes to finances and financial aid. I will go ahead and drop their link in the chat. But they are the ones that process everything related to FAFSA and financial aid, and they can tell you more about when will that actually be dispersed into your student's account. So I'm okay, of course. Awesome. Yeah, so that was a little bit about new student and family programs. Thank you all so much for your time and your attentiveness. We really appreciate it. Now with us, as I mentioned before, we're bringing on another campus department. They'll come in and give a presentation for about 30 minutes, and then we will open the floor like we did for me with questions at the end for about 10 minutes. So with us now, we have joining our counseling and psychological services. So they will talk a little bit about how are they providing your students support, especially through the fall semester when students are coming to college and so many things are changing, right? So I'll go ahead and welcome Christopher Leal, who is here to talk to you all about counseling and psychological services. And if you have any questions, please again put them in the Q&A box at the bottom. We're happy to answer those questions at the end. So I'll hand it over to you, Chris.
All right, sorry, y'all. I'm just waiting for my computer system to catch up in this presentation. Can you all see my slides?
No,
No, okay.
I can't.
Let me see. How about now?
Yes, I can now.
Yay, okay. Go into full presentation mode. Here, okay, awesome. Can we still see him up?
I don't see it blown up. I just see it still in like the PowerPoint kind of. It doesn't look like it's in the presentation mode.
Oh, okay. 1 second while I try to fix that issue.
If you are looking to access this information at a later time, please visit our YouTube page and then sign up for the newsletter to receive more information about events that we have going on throughout the year. But the presentation looks like it's working well. So Chris, I'll hand it off to you to go ahead and begin. I will be here. I'm just turning off my mic and camera so to minimize distraction. But thank you all so much.
Yeah, okay. So just to introduce myself again, my name is Christopher Liao. Feel free to call me Chris. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the outreach coordinator for counseling and psychological services. That is a mouthful, so I'll be referring to our department as CAPS. That is usually how people refer to us on campus. Let me just get started a little bit about us. We are located in Brotman Hall 226. You all might be familiar with this or have seen this building before if you've done orientation. If not, it becomes a very familiar building for all of our students here as we have a lot of our core services located here. We're located on the second floor next to Brotman Hall 226. If you ever want to help your students figure out where we're at, I always recommend saying that we're next to a giant water fountain that looks like molecules. To me, they look like dandelions or the giant go beach sign as our markers. So who are we? We are one of the mental health services here on campus. We provide free and confidential services to all students seeking a degree. So as long as they're going to be earning the degree, they qualify for our services. All of the things that we do offer are already covered with tuition fees. And we have a plethora of mental health professionals that in this image you can see here that surround your student and support them in their academic and personal endeavors. So we have our counselors, which is a wide range of psychologists, licensed clinical social workers, and licensed marriage and family therapists. You can see there's me as an outreach coordinator. We also in this program really value our students' input and perspective. So we have a team of peer educators, in which I'll talk about shortly. And from there, they have their supervisors or their peer program coordinators. We have a case manager, as you know, and our administrative support team. So we help students with a plethora of reasons. It could be stress, anxiety, relationship issues, and they very common ones. And I just wanted to show like why we are important to the campus and why we think it's really important for you all to know about us. So to just show how much this campus really cares about your students' overall health and wellness, we do is what we call the National College Health Assessment Survey every 2 years. In that survey, we do all around dynamic a look at a student's health and wellness and see how we as the support services can do better to support that student or the general campus. We do this every 2 years. From our last survey in 2024, we were able to survey about 3,381 students. Total of our population at the time was 38,435. So we roughly got about 10% of the campus. And from that 10%, we wanted to see what were the 5 major impactors that would affect their academic performance. 48% responded with procrastination, 35% responded with stress, 27% said anxiety, and then we have 24% with finances, which we can see, especially when paying for college, and then 22% reported sleep difficulties. Even though we only had 10% of the population, this does give us good insight on how we as a mental health office can support in many of these major impactors, especially stress, anxiety, procrastination, and sleep difficulties. And this is what I'm sharing with you as well. If you can normalize with your students if they're going through a struggle. I often see when I'm working with students while the tabling and presentations or workshops, they tend to maybe internalize that their own experiences is something that's just their own. And when actuality is such a common experience all the way across, although college is a really beautiful time for them where they really get to grow into themselves, develop in their first major chapter as an adult, it does come with its challenges. So you're gonna need that support all along the way. You guys are a support system as their parents and guardians, but I just want to show there's also other options for them as well. And so as we want to show that we are part of your team, we definitely want to talk about who we are. So a little bit of our values here. We are a trauma-informed department. What trauma-informed means that what we value is safety, making sure that we build trust with your student and have full transparency, not only when it comes to our services or and what kind of treatment we're going to go along with. We also look into the contextual matter of a student's experience to see if there's any other peer supports that they can rely on. And we're doing a collaboration with them and coming up with their support plan, what goals they want to accomplish, what areas they want to do some healing in. And then we definitely focus on empowerment and choice, so letting them have an ultimate decision on where we are going to take their treatment with. Some of our other values are strengths-based. We definitely look at your students' strengths. What are the factors that are keeping them persistent and consistent in their overall academic and personal performances. Then we also do have a culture of humility. We have a quite diverse campus here, and I'm really happy to say that. So we always make sure we're approaching the students with, even though we might be part of that culture, it is as little as knowledge as possible. We want to learn from the student how their culture has influenced them. And we're always going to be student centered on them, always making sure that the whole treatment is coming from them. Do we have any? Oh, sorry. I know we'll save questions at the end of it. Usually we're still asking questions during the presentation, but feel free to type those in so we can check those out later. So now that I told you about us, I wanted to inform you about the services that we do offer. So we do offer individual and group counseling. Our individual counseling is short term and is a one-time service. Usually students will see a counselor for maybe a semester, maybe two, depending on what they're experiencing. And from that, if they want long-term care, we will actually assist them getting connected to that. As well for our group counseling, these are usually about six to eight of their peers all going through a similar challenge or experience, in which they will meet with the counselor for the semester, and they are more than welcome to enjoy the group the next semester as well if they feel like it's needed. And let's say if a student is not really looking for a therapy or processing space, no problem. We do have a lot of other services that we can offer them, one being like our group workshops. So we make sure to tailor our workshops to the students' experience and give them skills that will help them be successful in their personal and academic endeavors. Like a really popular one that we have every semester is Anxiety Toolbox. So how does anxiety affect your student? how they've been previously coping with it, and what are some other healthy coping mechanisms they can incorporate. And we also have healthy relationships, so how they can establish healthy communication and boundaries, not only in their romantic relationships, but in their platonic ones as well. We also have a trans care team. So this is for any students that identify as trans. Not only they get gender-specific care in our counseling, but they can also get letters of support for gender-affirming care and getting connected to specific resources off campus. And one thing a student or you might have heard before is that our office is a go-to mental health service, in which we appreciate that recognition. But like how I was mentioning earlier, how diverse this campus is, we know we're not going to be a great fit for everyone. And say if your student doesn't want to utilize us for any reason, maybe they just feel uncomfortable with seeing their counselor on campus if they're walking towards lunch. We have an amazing case manager that will help them get connected to an off-campus resource. No matter if your student does or does not have insurance, we know insurance is a major barrier to getting connected to care. So our case manager knows ways to work around it, or you get connected to a resource that doesn't need insurance. And we have a variety of other spaces on which I'll talk about shortly in this presentation. But just know that, yeah, oh, sorry. Just know there is a plethora of services that they can utilize. A lot of people just think they only can come to us for therapy, and we're trying to also share like how much we actually do for them or they can take advantage of. So if a student wants to make an appointment with us, they can give us a call at 562-985-4001 or come visit us at Brotman Hall 226, Monday from Friday, 8 to 5. Students are used to now booking all their things online. We are still old school. We're trying to catch up to that system, so they either can give us a call or come in person. When your student makes an appointment with us, we will set them up for initial consultation if they're trying to do individual or group counseling. And we know most of our campus are commuters, so students are more than welcome to do these sessions in person or on Zoom where they feel most comfortable. And then the day of their appointment, we just ask them to fill out some paperwork. This paperwork is very similar to if they're going to the doctor for the first time, where we're just getting their basic information and why they're coming into our office today. And now I get to highlight one of my favorite services that we offer here. This really goes into how we're trying to really expand our network and how, not our network, expand our reach and how we interact with the whole campus. We know not all students are needing therapy, so we're trying to like really elevate our services. One of them being our drop-in spaces. These are all community spaces designed for students to have fun, build connection, make their community, and distress from academics. They are non-committal. They do not have to be a client. They do not have to be seeing one of our counselors. Everyone on campus is welcome, and we have a variety of spaces for different identities. So I'm just going to go through them. So this could be especially helpful if maybe your students maybe on the shyer side or has maybe more introverted like I am. These will be a great opportunity for them to just go. It's a low ask spaces. We're usually doing some kind of activity related around health and wellness, but it's very informal. Now I'll just go through the different spaces, and hopefully if you have any questions or want more information, please scan that QR code and it'll take you to our website to tell you about the days and times that they meet. So we have Sister Friends. That's for any woman that identifies as Black or Afro-Latina. Latinas at the Beach, as you all can probably guess, is for Latinas on campus. Sticky Rice at the Beach is for any student who identifies as Asian, Pacific Islander, or Desi. Rainbow Cafe is for any student who identifies as queer, trans, or questioning whether it's their gender identity or sexuality. And then we have our very unique space, Thoughtful Thursday. Thoughtful Thursday is different from our other spaces because while those meet once a week, Thoughtful Thursday meets once a month, and we help teach students mindfulness and meditation. It is a space led by a mental health professional, and we do it in the Earl Japanese Garden. It's probably the perfect location for students to come and kind of get away from any stressors. It has koi fish, beautiful sights, serene music playing at all times. Just let you know how nice it is. It's actually a $20,000 wedding venue that's pretty popular here on Long Beach, and our students get access to it for free. So if they ever want to get practice that or just incorporate more health and wellness practices for them as a student, highly suggest them to attend Thoughtful Thursday, and it is free for all students. Our other unique space is Buddies Connect at the beach under our Rising Tides program, which I'll talk about shortly. But Buddies Connect is different from our other spaces because it is a general space for everyone on campus. Usually we have about 20 to 30 students per week and is led by students as well. So it's a space led by students for students, in which I'll get a little bit more into that later in my presentation. And then we have our South Asian Men's Circle for any men that identifies as South Asian. But again, just to really emphasize, a student does not have to be a client, does not have to be seeing one of our counselors. Everyone is welcome, and they can leave and arrive at any time they would like. We know they have many different hats beyond their student schedule, so if they need to, for any reason, need to leave early, we're more than welcome. We're more than happy they just join us for a little bit. And then we have our Let's Talk spaces. Our Let's Talk space are drop-in spaces and what we call our informal consultation, because students have the opportunity to get to meet with one of our counselors in an informal setting where they're not actually committing to our services. And they can really ask the general questions about mental health services, whether like what is counseling, how does confidentiality apply to me, what is the kind of support I can get from your department. And we see that it helps build or break down that barrier between our counselors and students. There is some kind of intimidation from our students to seek a counselor, thinking that they are someone that might be maybe intimidating or just does not see as a regular person as them. So we love this space because it really allows us to break down that barrier. And we offer for a variety of identities. You can always scan the QR code and see what pages that we're offering. And we offer these on a weekly basis as well as our drop-in spaces, as long as there's not a holiday or during finals. And then one important service that I would love to highlight is our on-call crisis counseling. I highly recommend if you guys are able to take a picture of this so you're aware of this to share with your student if they're in a crisis or they're feeling overwhelmed and need support. This is a service that we offer if a student has any urgent needs or emergencies that are related to their mental and emotional health. Crisis is a very intimidating term, so how I like to communicate to students is that if they have any kind of urgent need that's really interfering with their day-to-day, they can't focus on class, they're not able to do their job, and they're just feeling overwhelmed, that they can utilize this service. This is available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 in our office if they want to see someone in person, or they can give us a call at any time, Monday through Friday. If it's after hours, they are actually going to get connected with a third-party crisis counseling company called Protocol, in which they are all licensed mental health professionals as well. They just support in the after hours. Just like to give an example, let's say if your student is going through a 1 a.m. breakup and feeling quite overwhelmed and just need to talk to someone, this could be a great service for them. And just to emphasize how much this campus really cares about your students, we also have the National Crisis Text Line, especially specifically for our campus. All they have to do is text B to 741 and get connected to a crisis volunteer. If they don't want to see a person, if they don't want to talk to someone, this is the third option. But I do want to note that this text line is not affiliated with our department. It's a general national crisis text line. And then I also get to talk to you, go back to that our peer educators under Rising Tides. Rising Tides is actually a revamp of a program known as Project Ocean. And they are our peer wellness program. They help us with our mission with mental health awareness, reducing stigma, breaking barriers to services, as well as particularly focusing on suicide prevention. They do this in several ways. They do this by providing a free training that your students can take. We're actually having our revamp of our training being launched in this spring. It's a great way for students to figure out how to connect with their peers and support them in their time of need, as well as a great resume booster. And we offer it to students, staff, and faculty on campus. Anyone that is willing to become what we call as a gatekeeper. In which that means they are fully trained and able to certify or at least get them connected to a resource for support. They also do a lot of community building, going back to what that Buddies Connected Beach Space. They do that with several pop-ups with different sort of organizations on campus, but they host that weekly. Sometimes we even have about an event that's anywhere from 200, 300 students. I do want to highlight if your students need to work throughout college, like I did, this is an employment opportunity. We do all of our hiring, our interviewing and our hiring in the summer, and we do all of our training right before school starts. So this doesn't majorly impact them throughout their school year. So I just wanted to show you some pictures of programming that they did. We have the Buddies Connect the Beach, which I discussed in the pop-ups. Some of our other major events are Live Your Life Day, where we bring all these different resources on campus to really promote to however they feel, your students feel is the best for their wellness, that there is a resource for them that will support them with it. And as well as our chill zone, we know finals is make it or break it weeks for our students. So we just provide a space where they can come relax, get some food, have some snacks, play games, or do something creative to kind of de-stress themselves. And then also have those natural opportunities to connect with a professional staff if they need it. And then here's some important resources I just want to highlight on top of our own. So there is beach wellness, something I really loved about coming to this campus. I'm on my third year now, and just how much support there is available to your student. So we're hoping to lean on you as well to share with them in their time of need, because more than likely you guys need to hear first before we do. So there is beach wellness. It is the one-stop shop for all their health and wellness needs. Just to give you an idea of what is on there, there's us for mental and emotional health needs. There is student health services, which is our full clinic here. It actually has a pharmacy. So let's say flu season is coming. Usually a student will have to pay maybe like $20, or you all know they have to pay $20 for Dayquil and NyQuil at any convenience store. While here at our pharmacy, they get it for $2.50. And it's just a generic brand of Dayquil and NyQuil. So it's a pretty good deal. We also have a lot of other medications for them to utilize. There is basic needs in which if a student has any food insecurity or housing insecurity, they can go to basic needs and get some support. And there's also those related to their academics, like if a student has a hard time focusing or work with time management, we have our learning center. If they have a hard time writing papers like I did while throughout college, we have a writing center that'll help them come up with an outline and then edit their essay afterwards before they submit it to their class. Just to give you, it's a really big hub for all these resources here on campus, and most of them are free for the student, if not all of them. And then we have Find Help Now. I also love highlighting this for you all as community partners, as parents and guardians. We know our students are not only dealing with their own stress, or maybe they just want to utilize off-campus resource. This is a great tool for them and for you as well. All you have to do with this resource is take a 3-minute anonymous survey. It's just simply just clicking anything that applies to you, and it'll generate a page of off-campus resources that a student can get connected to, or you all can get connected to in your county. It provides a description, a contact information. I just ask or advise, if you are utilizing this resource, that when you contact the resource that you choose, to get an idea of what their confidentiality guidelines are. Different resources have different guidelines for confidentiality, and I want you guys to have the most empowered choice and how you guys want to handle any kind of stressors or challenges you may be facing. And I always have to plug our CARES team. Something that we've noticed that we do get calls from parents asking if they can get support for their student, in which we would love to support your student, but that would require the student having to come to our office and making the phone call or come to speak to us in person. So I always redirect parents, guardians, or anybody that has concern within the student's family to CARES. CARES is our campus triage system. It's a team of case managers that will help make that connection to your student if you feel like there's anything worrying for you, and offer them the support they need by connecting them to all the resources on and off campus that they can utilize. You can submit what we call as a CARES referral. It will be completely anonymous. So let's say if you submitted one for your student just because maybe you haven't spoken to them on the phone a couple of days, or you just notice a change in their behavior, That case manager will not let the student know that you made the referral. We keep it anonymous, but I will let you know that that case manager will actually follow up with you and kind of get an account of what your experiences have been with the student so you can figure out how we can best support them. And this is all completely voluntary. A student has the right to refuse services from CARES. So I definitely would recommend checking out their website. I have it right there. All you have to do is type in www.csulb.edu/cares. I'll leave it a minute for you to take a picture. But just to clarify, they're not a team of counselors. They cannot provide counseling, but they'll help a student get connected to any resource they may need. So just hold for a little bit. All right, and I'll go here. And that brings me to the end of our presentation. So again, we're located in Brotman Hall 226. That is the QR code to our website. If you want to see our website and see the services in detail, our number is 562-985-4001, or you can always give us an email. There is our Instagram as well. If you kind of just want to see the events we're doing, especially with our peer wellness program, I highly recommend it. But I will stop the presentation now and see if there's any room for questions. But thank you all for attending.
Okay, Chris, I see a question here in the Q&A box, and it says, when will the next anxiety toolbox workshop be offered? Also, when is the next healthy relationships workshop?
Yeah, great question. Let me just confirm my information. Because we just finished with the first round of anxiety toolbox. If you go to our website, you'll be able to see all of the it'll be under group counseling for those workshops. But I can look up those dates. Our next round will be actually starting tomorrow, October 16th, and it'll go until November 6th. They'll be meeting for a 3-week series. But we're actually offering 3 rounds this semester. Our next one will be starting November 13th. So they can go out and say that they're interested. Sometimes the student doesn't need to attend all 3 workshops to get all the full support, but they benefit from one, we're more than happy to support them. And then for healthy relationships, it is still going from Tuesdays 11 to 12. We should be starting our next round very soon, probably towards the end of October.
I'm not seeing any other questions as of this moment. We'll give it maybe just a couple more minutes before we transition over. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, or you can go ahead and unmute. That works as well. So if you have any questions, now is the time to ask for Chris. They'll leave here in a few minutes. So if you have any questions, please ask them now.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
My question is, you mentioned that if we as a parent want to refer our child for services, we can just email you and then someone will reach out to him.
Oh no. So it's actually you'll be referring them to CARES. You can type in CSULB CARES and the referral system will come up. We do not take direct referrals from our office, just because the student would have to make a decision to utilize our services. While CARES is more of that building that bridge, asking if they need support, they can help us getting linkage to our services.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, so just CSULB CARES, CARES, and it'll take you directly to the website.
Thank you.
Of course.
I have also put the website for the CARES team in the chat as well. So if you would like to access CARES and refer a student via CARES, you can do that there. Somebody else asked, Chris, could you put the website up again?
Yeah,
Or could we
for our
maybe
website,
drop the web link in the chat?
Is that for our website or for the CARES website?
Sorry, I'm assuming it's just your website. It says, could you put the website up again? So if you could drop your website in the chat, that would be helpful.
All right, I just dropped it in the chat, and it's also csulb.edu-cat.
All right, folks, are there any last questions for Chris before Caps jumps off? Oh, we do have a question that says, how many counseling appointments would a student have?
So we don't have a set limit or maximum for our students. It really depends on their experience. It is short term, so usually those can go anywhere from 8 to 10 sessions. But some students only seem they only need 4, some maybe 6. It really just depends on the individual. They actually discussed that with their counselor in their initial consultation, if how many sessions they would like to have or what we think would be best before getting connected to long-term care.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you.
No worries.
And then we have another question that says, how are students assigned to a given counselor?
So our counselors are assigned by availability based on the student's schedule. That's our number one, usually the way they get connected. Others, if they do have a preference, we do have on our about our staff page, they can see what kind of counselors we have. And so maybe they feel more comfortable with a female identified or a woman identified counselor or male. They can make that request. We can see if we can do it to our best of our availability.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions, but I really do appreciate your time, Chris. Thank you so much for jumping on and talking about counseling and psychological services and for dropping the link in the chat. If anybody has further questions for Caps or for Chris, please feel free to visit that website and you'll be able to find contact information there. But I don't know, Chris, did you have anything else that you wanted to say before you go?
I just all appreciate you guys attending this presentation, doing the best you guys can and get the most equipped with the information needed to support your students. And just appreciate you, Nina, for inviting me out here. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Have a good one.
You as well. Awesome. So while Chris kind of transitions out, folks, we're going to go ahead and move on. Again, if you would like to review these presentations, either new student and family programs or counseling and psychological services, you can do so at any time. Beginning tomorrow is when we will have the YouTube link uploaded so that you can go onto YouTube and watch this video over again, get the presentation information over again. So if you have any further questions for Chris, you can either review the presentation or you can message them or contact them via the link that was dropped in the chat. So please visit that if you have any questions for counseling and psychological services. We will now transition over to our last presentation for the evening with our Bob Murphy Access Center. So this is learning more about how we support students with disabilities on our campus and various resources that we have available for students with disabilities or students that may be needing accommodations or extra support. So I'll hand this now over to Rosie, who is here with Bob Murphy Access Center to provide you this information. I will be here just muted and mic off. So thank you so much. I'll hand it over to you, Rosie.
All right, thank you so much. Happy evening, and let me share my presentation. Yes. All right, I hope you all can see my presentation.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so hi everyone. So my name is Rosie. I am one of the accommodation retention counselor at BMAC. So a little bit what I do is that I do meet with the students, doing like intakes. I'll be out there tabling, bringing disability awareness, doing different programming needs, just to create an inclusive campus, but also to support students with disability related needs. So we are BMAC, so we stand for Bob Murphy Access Center. So we serve students with disabilities, and we are located at the Student Assistance Center on campus, so we're just right in front of the bookstore. So yes, we just want to know is that disability is part of a human experience. It is the nation's largest minorized a group that any one person can join anytime. Almost everyone will temporarily or permanently experience disability at some point of their life. So I know that this is families and parents of students that may be, new students, continuing students, or transfer student. So some of the information that I will be sharing in a bit may be like a refresher or maybe new information, but just wanted to share with you just to put things in perspective of how we can best support your students. These are the questions just to kind of ask yourself as a parent, as families of your student. Just kind of thinking back, right? What was your student's first day of preschool, kindergarten look like? How did you feel that day? How did you feel about someone's first day of college, right? What were the something you were looking forward to? What were you nervous about? What question did you have? What are some ways that you can show that you care for your student as they, embark on their college journey? And how would that, impact your life? How would your life change? And what can you do for yourself to help you with this time of transition? So it's definitely a transition period, not only for, the parents and family members, but also for the student, because it's a whole new world out there, and so we understand that there's changes, new changes, new feelings, finding different ways how to navigate this new chapter of life. Um, so this may be some of you guys, right, on the first day of school where, your student is like, I don't want to go to school. But on their first day of college, as a parent or as a family member, now you're telling your student that you don't want to let them go. So just want to share this little picture, but also here's the QR code. But of the letter written by Jane Jarrell, who is a disability services professional and parent. So she kind of wrote like a letter to the parent of kind of advice of a parent with student with disabilities, right? Of transitioning to college, taking a step back, let your child, take responsibility, take independence and so on, and just encouraging to coach your students beforehand and kind of remind them of the skills and abilities that they have to be able to advocate for themselves and to be independent. Yeah. Okay, so I just want to touch base on kind of recognizing the differences between K to 12 and college accommodation. So as I mentioned earlier, just to kind of put things in perspective. Oh, it might not changing my slide. Sorry. So here's a little picture of the first day of school of when your child is, don't want to let go, don't want to go to school, they're nervous on their first day. And then here's the second picture of the parent, or the family member telling their child that they don't want to let them go. And here's the QR code here that has a letter of Jane Darrow writing a letter to the parents about, different guidance of how to let go of your children and, support them along on this journey as it's all new to them as well. So moving forward, just want to discuss the differences between K to 12 and college accommodation. So here's a little picture here where it says, yes, mother, I told you I'm doing fine on my own at college. Hey, could you log on and find my schedule, order my books, and call me when it's time for class? So it's just a little funny picture to put in there. But just want to give you a brief um information of differences. So when it comes to K to 12, it's governed by the IDA and Section 504 and INPs, right? Schools are required to identify and serve students, that have disabilities, and they focus on success and remediation. However, at a college level, it's governed by ADA and Section 504, where ensuring equal access and where students must self-identify and request accommodation, and just making sure that they are not being discriminated on campus. For self-occupancy, parents and usually the parent and the teachers, right, or the staff will advocate for the student of different modification or accommodations that the student may need, and then you have your IMP team or the school team come together to make a decision on different accommodations. However, at a college level, students are responsible for self-occupancy. So they must disclose about their disability to the disability center. So just like here at BMAC, and they must request accommodations. And then just collaborating with that disability service. So it's just like at BMAC, students will collaborate with that what accommodation they're seeking for, and we will make a decision if these are reasonable accommodations that aligned with the specific diagnosis or disability. For the parental role, I know in K to 12, usually parents are the very active participant when it comes to, attending IMPs, 504 meetings, and other meetings where it involves the student and just monitoring, the progress and advocating for the child. In a college setting, parents do not have automatic access to any educational information. Student consent is required, and the student is fully responsible for their education and their advocacy. For required documentation, in K to 12, school provide evaluations and maintain IEPs or 504, and the school will determine, eligibility and what services or modification that can be made to support the student. In the college setting, student must provide current professional documentation or medical documentation that verify their stability and its functional impact. Then BMAC would review documentation to determine reasonable accommodations. Instruction. So in K to 12, I know it's a very like structured learning environment, with kind of like the same teachers, you same teachers, per school year. The classes may look smaller. There's more, attention from the teacher, or more support from the teachers. Um, and then in the college setting, it looks different where it could be a small class, but it could be a very large class where it can include maybe over 100 students in that class. Students may attend fewer class hours, and are expected to manage their own time, their own schedule, to seek help independently. So like attending like the professor's office hours, go into tutoring services, the writing center, and the motivation is more internal and self-directed. So the student, it's the student's full responsibility to want to do well in their academics at the college level. Grades and tests. So in K to 12, there could be like frequent assignment and tests, multiple grading opportunities, and ongoing feedback. Modified grading or workload reductions may be part of like the IEP. However, in college, it's a little different where there are more structured exams. They don't really allow retakes or makeups. Feedback is a little bit more limited. They have a different grading standards where it cannot be changed or it cannot be as flexible. However, there are testing accommodation that BMAC can consider of like extended time for tests, or yeah, and other testing accommodation to best support the student on the basis of their disability. And lastly, study responsibilities. So I know in K to 12, teachers help, structure time, give reminders, and building in-class support system, for students to stay on track, on top of their, of their assignments or to study for upcoming exams. In the college setting, students must plan organize and manage their time independently. And they can build on their own support system. BMAC can be part of that. Attending study groups, going to tutoring, and so on. So they must kind of find their way of how they can build up their studying skills and in what environment that may be helpful for them to focus on their studying. And I just want to know is that accommodation may vary from previous educational institutions. So I know we often get questions that, when they want to register with BMAC, they will ask if the 504 plan or IMP documentation may be acceptable for students to register at BMAC. And our answers to that is that it can be provided if that's all you have, the 504 or an IMP, we can definitely still move forward of doing an intake appointment. However, if more information is needed, we will definitely need to this BMAC specialist will definitely request the student to provide documentation from their medical provider. And on our website, we do have our disability documentation guidelines and our form that a student can take to their medical provider. And with that being said, I know in the IMP and the 504 plan, there are certain accommodation modification that may not be able to transfer to, educational institution. Same thing for community college, where, students start off at community college and they receive accommodations from that college. And when they come to Cal State Long Beach, some of these accommodations may not be available or is not provided or is not considered reasonable as maybe symptoms has changed or depending on the diagnosis. So it's just something just to note. Just quickly, just to go over FERPA. So as I mentioned earlier, is that parents are not automatically involved in the process when students want to register with BMAC or any other available resources on campus. The student will need to give consent themselves. So when it comes to FERPA, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, Cal State Long Beach, the campus, complies with FERPA, which allows students certain rights with respect to their educational records. It's established to protect the privacy of the students. So the student have the right to inspect and review educational records, to see to amend educational records, have some control over disclosure of information from educational records, such as grades, transcripts, student course schedules, and so on. So when you're student within K to 12, FERPA gave the parent or the guardians the rights to access their educational records. But now, the student entering in college level, the same law transfer ownership to the student, directly to the student. So even if your student signed a FERPA release, we have an obligation to engage in direct communication with your student. So just a little reflection question to ask yourself, how can you support your student if they're struggling and need help? So kind of tap in all the advocacy skills and different ways that you were supporting your student K to 12 and kind of sharing that with your student of how what skill that they can put into practice of when they need to advocate for themselves in college. All right, so the college experience. So what to expect when students are continuing their journey in their college, and maybe this is their first semester, or just being a different college from transferring from a community college. For families and parents, just to understand that your student may be away from home, right? I know some students live local, some are 2 hours away, or they have family that's a few states away. Just understanding that they're away from home, right? They might have a long day of classes. So they might need to reestablish their support system, who they can lean on during this time, this transition. What other spots maybe on campus that they can feel comfortable, studying at, doing their assignments at, um, you know, to feel safe, um, identifying maybe, academic advisors or BMAC specialists or any person on campus, professors that they know that they can go to if they need any support or if they have any question. Maybe joining different clubs on campus, just to build kind of like a social network. Just having that support system. So they might need to reestablish their support system. Also just understanding the rapid pace of the semester system, right? So here at Cal State Long Beach, we are semester based. So usually each semester is about roughly about 3 months. So that is kind of a faster pace than um, K to 12, of classes and having the same professors. Each semester, each classes they have different professors, and different structure of the class. So it's just understanding that it's a little faster pace. And during this time, this is where they will need to learn time management skills and study habits, right? Kind of actually schedule, the time you're going to study, schedule the time that you're going to do your assignment, and just learning different tools of how to do well on your exam and how to complete the assignments. Um, Moving on to distraction. So we understand that it's a new environment, right? There's a lot of cool things that, that students want to experience the college life, right? Or have that college experience. So we understand there might be some distraction that may come up, such as, if they're dorming on campus, there may be opportunities to hang out with friends or to meet new people. Maybe social media, right? Just being on social media, meeting people over social media, new relationships, meeting people, going to parties, playing games and stuff like that. So there may be different distractions, right? Just to kind of do some self-care, but also trying to to try to have that college experience. Also, overcommitment, right? So we understand students may have other responsibility outside of college, having part-time jobs, if they want to join a sorority, if they want to join club, and they feel that they want to do it all, or not realizing how much of a commitment that they will need to focus on college while trying to balance other responsibilities. So, definitely will need a lot of support through that. And lastly, self-imposed pressure, where they want to become an independent adult, right, and asking for help. And sometimes some students, struggle even just asking for help, or trying to navigate how they can be an independent adult, right? And they have that pressure, right, that they want to do well, they want to be able to do everything on their own. So it's just recognizing that they might be putting their own pressure on themselves. So a glimpse and understanding student life. So kind of tying in what I just talked about. So it's just kind of see this map here, right? All of these things that may come up as they are attending college. So like their mental health may be impacted, different career planning services they might need to think more about, their financial situation, academic support. And planning, right? How many classes, which classes do I need to take for my major? And so on. So it's just understanding that it's not gonna be linear. It's gonna go up and down like a roller coaster. And just understanding that it's just not just academic. So it's not just simple of just attending your classes and it's just coming home. There are other areas that can play into the student's life. So of course, one transitioning to college, right? There's different feelings, different changes that may come into that, but we also recognize that family and individual expectation may come to play where there's cultural expectations, right? Or their own self pressure on themselves, or trying to meet, you know, their family expectation, of attending college. So, just recognizing that also vocational goals and versus ability and interest. So I know a lot of the students when they start off their college, they might be undeclared because they're not sure what major they want to go into, right? Or what career path they want to go to. And usually the first 2 years of college, they take kind of like general education classes, and then by the third year, fourth year, that's when they start taking classes that's toward their major, that will support their career goals. So kind of recognizing, is this something I want to do my career, or is this something that's more like my interest, my hobby, and just trying out. So, just recognizing what is their end goals of terms of what degree and what kind of career that they would like to, go into. Disability impact. So this is also a period where students, when they come to BMAT, they have to self-disclose, right? And maybe that's not something that they do in K to 12, right? Usually the parent would do that. So when they come to us, they would have to, self-disclose, and sometimes, and the intake process, we do ask question of how their diagnosis or their disability impact them not only in daily living but also academically. And sometimes some students don't know, right, because they never really sit with it, or really accepted it. So just recognizing that they might see some shift of how their disability might impact them, in different levels. Social pressure, right? Meeting friends, joining clubs, just wanting to be part of that college experience. The political, cultural climate. So I know there's a lot going on in that area. So just students, that are being impacted by it, or just having those conversations. And not only, with their peers, but also in the classroom. And just many more different things that might come into life. So it's more of, asking yourself, what are my students' important identities that, you can recognize and respect? And how can you better understand your student individual needs within the college experience, right? How can I uplift my students through these transitions? So those are the questions just to kind of think through when you are supporting your students. Okay, so general guidelines for the student. So for the students, we ask them that they build their self-awareness and ask for help early. So I know a lot of our students, especially the first years, they during over the summer they will reach out to BMAC, to register for services, and that is great because they get to kind of understand our services, how these accommodations can be implemented, and just being prepared and have everything set up before they start the first semester, so that when semester starts, they're not feeling overwhelmed and they have everything in place, to best support their disability related needs. So it's just build your self awareness and ask for help, right? Reaching out to your professor maybe a week before and kind of ask, those questions that you may have. Utilize support system throughout the semester. So, as they're navigating through college, we ask that the student, try to continue to build your support system. Be able to identify one or two people on campus that they can go and that they can go to if they have any question or need any support. Throughout the semester. Um, how much you disclose is your choice. So when they do register with it at BMAC, we are receiving your medical documentation, and it is going to disclose, your disability. And we do share with the students that the more you kind of disclose that impact, the more we can kind of help you. And it's a safe space here at BMAC because we want to provide reasonable accommodations. Um, After that, once the student is, set up for accommodation, we do send out, notification letters to the professor. It did not disclose their disabilities or anything of that specify it. It's very generalized, and it only specified the accommodation that are requesting for the class. So we always, inform our students that it is up to them if they want to disclose directly to their professors or their peers, but they are not required, and it's up to them. So it is their choice. So they can remind other about respecting your confidentiality. Um, Understand your accommodation needs and how your disability impacts you in the classroom. So we definitely understand is that when students come in and they know they need accommodation, but they don't know what they need yet because it's a different structure of a classroom, right? Or professors have a certain structure that is beneficial for the student, where some instructors is not so great. So that is what we're here for, just to kind of walk you through of what kind of accommodations are available or what we can navigate through that may be helpful. And sometimes we can even do like a trial period. Sometimes we do provide resources that the students can utilize to see if that is what they need. So we understand that, and also understanding that you can always come back to BMAC at any point in the semester if you need to modify your accommodation, or if you have any questions. Schedule a private appointment with your professor, such as during office hours. So, like I mentioned earlier, is that professors may have a small class, but they might have a huge class where it could be over 100 students, right? And they may not be able to cater to all the students in that classroom, especially they're providing lectures and information to teach the course. But that's why every professor has his own office hours, and those are the hours that we highly recommend students to utilize, because that's when you can ask all your questions, you can ask clarification, they can, teach you a little bit more on certain topics that you may not understand, but then also kind of following up with different tutoring services available on campus. Be prepared. Complete any BMAC paperwork, which I will explain in a bit. Understand the paperwork. Understand how these BMAC accommodation are meant to be implemented. If you have any question, write them down and bring it to BMAC. And then stay in communication with BMAC and your professors throughout the semester. And the reason why I say that, because we can always adjust of the support or accommodations to best support you as you go throughout the semester. And also, if we don't know how to help you. So the more that you keep up to update, the more that we can help you. And then spread disability awareness to others. Okay, how can family and friends support their students? So you want to maintain trust with your students, so they will keep you informed and independent adult. So obviously, just continue to create that safe space, letting them know that you are there for them whenever they need you, whatever they just want to talk about it, and just maintaining that trust. Establish a level of comfort in how they would communicate their academic progress and status to you. So just recognizing that, this is a different, um, environment for them, different pace, of the semester, different class structure, different professors, um, teach the courses differently. And just knowing that their academic progress and status may not be aligned to, the parent expectation or family expectation. And just letting them know that you are there for them along the way, and kind of, explore any other support that will help them keep them on track. Have frank discussion about how they will handle potential challenges and opportunities. So challenges will come up, but opportunities will come up as well. So just having that discussion of how they can navigate to handle these challenges, how can they move forward, what tools or skills that they can use to navigate those challenges, but also opportunities, how can they fit those opportunities, how to make the best of those opportunities, what other tools or skills to be able to take this opportunity. So just having ongoing discussions goes a long way. Your student the best expert on themselves, so they are the one that are experiencing, college and knowing themselves, right? So they are the best expert. Talk about self-advocacy in college versus K to 12. So I kind of talked about that a little earlier. So K to 12, parents usually are the one to advocate on the student's behalf, but now it is the student's turn in college. So just recommending that you share your tools or your skill that you use when you're advocating for them and sharing with them that they can use when they want to advocate for themselves. Help them to become familiar with their disabilities, recognizing their areas of strength and challenges. So like I said, some of the students may haven't really sit with how the disability impact, academically and personally. So just have that conversation of recognizing, okay, these are my areas of strength. These are things that I can do, but what are the challenges? What are something that I do struggle, disability related impact. And those conversations can definitely really help identify what accommodation that can best support the student. Um, just asking them, how do they learn best? What are some strategies that can help them to be successful in learning? How do accommodation come into play here? So it's just kind of thinking back, okay, well, what are some of the accommodation that was helpful for them? What are the strategies they learned? So it's just kind of having that conversation, allowing them to assume adult responsibilities and learn from their mistakes. So just like, we all grown up to be adults and we have learned from our mistakes. Now it's kind of their turn just to take that responsibility and to learn from their mistakes and just be there from them and support them of how to navigate those mistakes and what to learn from those mistakes. Be supported by listening and just being there for them, respect their growth as an individual. It may not look like their journey, but it is their important journey. This is a new chapter of their lives, and it may be scary for them. So just being there for them, respect that they'll make their own decision, they're responsible, for the success, achieving their degrees or any goal that they may have. So we just wanted to say that help us help you. So here at BMAC, we are here to walk with you, not to fight with you. We want to support you. We want to be able to be transparent as much as we can with the student. We want to, build those relationships with the student and kind of understand, how disability may impact them, what accommodation that can best support them, but also having those conversations of the reality of, of college, of life, and just utilizing or building up those skills of how to advocate for themselves, how to be independent, and just understanding that, your student, it is in a safe space of, taking this opportunity to learn a lot more about themselves as well. So we want to help you. We want to walk with your student. We want to be there for your student. And we are a team here. And yeah, so I am going to go through our BMAC, a little bit more about BMAC and how your student can register with BMAC. So we just want to recognize that not every disability is apparent. And if you see the sunflower on LB, which is on my background, it actually represents non-apparent disabilities, just recognizing not only just physical disabilities, but also non-apparent disabilities such as, mental health, learning disabilities, and other many more disabilities where you can't really see, but they are experiencing those disability-related impact. Disabilities can be apparent or non-apparent. It can be permanent or temporary and vary impact or severity. And here are the examples of categories that disability can fall into. And it's important to understand that an individual can have more one disability from more than one category. So here are a few, but not limited to. So, ADD, ADHD, acquired traumatic brain injury, other functional chronic health conditions, learning disabilities, cognitive, deaf and deaf and hard of hearing, mobility, autism, psychological or psychiatrist, and visual. So here are just a list of different disability categories. And I will move on to our statistic. So just as of spring of 2025, so this past semester, we ran our database and this is what our numbers have found. So since fall 2024, about 41,000 students had enrolled at Cal State Long Beach. About 2,600 students registered with BMAC, which is about 6.24% that registered with BMAC. And here are the numbers of different disability categories that students identify them as their primary disability. So about 22% identify as ADHD, 22 psychological psychiatry, so that kind of includes like depression, anxiety, and so on. Temporary disabilities, 19%. And just want to know, not only like temporary disabilities, but also sometimes you understand, pregnant student, you understand that, students may get injured, or have to have surgery. So those, fall into that category as well. Other functional limitation, 12%, visual limitation, 1%, autism, 8%, deaf and hard of hearing, 2%, mobility limitation, 2%, acquired brain injury, 1%, communication disability, 1%, and learning disabilities, 10%. So here's a little visual picture of our BMAC students as of spring 2025. So just want to go over our program overview. So BMAC offers a range of accommodation services and resources referrals determined on case-by-case basis. BMAC additionally serves pregnant and parenting students. So here are different program areas that we have in-house at BMAC. So first off, we have our testing department and support services. So we provide students with exam accommodations. They administer standardized exam to students and community members. They facilitate campus auxiliary services. Our next program, which is accommodation and retention services, this is where I fall under too. So we serve as BMAC liaisons between academic colleges and students. We provide disability educational workshops and awareness events, and we support student retention through programming. Next is Like Projects. So they support students with autism spectrum disabilities to make successful transition to college and careers. Provide weekly Friday meetings and workshops to students. They provide disability educational workshop and awareness events and one-on-one coaching. And then ATP, which is stands for Accessible Technology Program. So they provide course materials in accessible formats to students, provide assistive technology tools and training to students, provide document randomization training to faculty. They provide access to a shared computer lab with Trio. A Stephen Benson program where they provide learning disability assessment referrals to students. They support disability development programming, including Minds in Motion, providing case-by-case writing support. Case management, they support students, they connect students with on and off campus resources, including transportation, healthcare, housing, food, and other basic needs. They support students who need assistance in obtaining documentation for BMAC registration. Next, we have deaf and hard of hearing, so they facilitate communication access on campus and within the classroom environment, including American Sign Language interpreters and real-time captioners. And then lastly, we have workability, where they provide eligible students with vocational preparation, workshop, and disability-based employment guidance. And it's a collaborative partnership with Department of Rehabilitation and Career Development Center here on campus. And just want to note that BMAC registration is done on a rolling basis. So sometimes students will register with at the beginning of the semester, in the middle of the semester, so they can register with us any time of the semester, though we don't have any closing date. So reasonable accommodation. So they are modification or adjustment to task, environment, or the way things are usually done that enables individuals with disabilities to have an equal opportunity to participate in academic program or a job. They should not alter the fundamental nature or requirement of the academic course or program. So here are a few accommodation examples that we have. So like classroom furniture, right? Accessible chairs, accessible tables. We have note-taking softwares that students can utilize. Interpreters, real-time captioning. When it comes to test taking extra time, breaks as needed, and so on. And then be able to take breaks during class. So those are some accommodations, but it's not limited to. And here's our overall interactive process. So when the students submit the application, they're gonna upload medical documentation. Then they're gonna meet the specialist for a welcome meeting, which is also known like at the intake. That's where the student will share the impact and kind of determine reasonable accommodation. And if approved, then they will be set up their BMAC profile, and then that's where notification will go out to instructors. If the accommodation are denied, then students are able to appeal. If they are approved, they're gonna request their accommodation. They'll instructor will receive that letter of their accommodation requesting for the class, and student are responsible to communicate with the professors. And then just having ongoing communication regarding about their accommodation. So just overall, in their single sign-on, step one, they'll be able to complete the application. Step two, that's where you upload disability-related diagnosis or pregnancy-related or any disability-related limitation impact from the medical provider. And then this is where you'll be contact our office to schedule a welcome meeting. And then just know that a student not registered with BMAC until they have their welcome meeting. And that is all for BMAC.
Great. Thank you so much for all that information. We do have a couple of questions in the chat. I don't know if somebody else is speaking, but there is a question in the chat that says, "Can you repost the link to the article by Jane?"
Yes, yes.
So if we could post that in the chat, that might be helpful. And then another question is, it says, "My student has applied and been approved for accommodations. Should they go to BMAC for the advisor regarding class schedule, or should they go to a different advisor? Also, do accepted students get priority for class registration?"
Yeah, so at BMAC, we actually don't do any academic advising, so they would have to go to their academic advisor. The only thing that we can do at BMAC is kind of we could look at their class course and then kind of determine maybe, there's too many classes enrolled, is it online, is it in person, and so on to kind of factor in of what the student challenges may be, but overall we cannot make any academic decisions. But for priority registration, sorry, when students register with BMAC, they automatically get priority registration. That is the process as of now. But however, there is a cutoff date. So, like for example, for spring 2026, priority registration date for BMAC student has been closed already. So, if student were to register with us tomorrow, they will not be able to be on priority registration for spring 2026.
Awesome. Another question is, can they go to tutoring at BMAC?
We do not provide any in-house tutoring or anything like that. That is something that they would have to utilize on campus. However, we do so if it's anything tutoring related to like writing, and the disability related impact. And they utilized the writing center on campus first, but it did not seem to be beneficial for them. We do have an in-house writing specialist. We just have one. And our specialist can meet with the student of how to, learn different writing skills or help them navigate of, the writing assignment. But overall, we do not do any tutoring in-house at BMAC.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions currently, but while folks are submitting any maybe last questions that they have, is there anything else that you would like to mention, Rosie?
Um, Overall, just with your student, just please just be part of the support system. Just be patient as they're navigating through this new chapter of their life, and just letting them know, communication is key in every area, and we are here to answer any questions.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat, but if anybody has any last minute questions, please feel free to speak up. If not, we're going to go ahead and end here in a second. Okay. I'm not hearing any. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rosie, for coming on and talking with us all about BMAC today. We really appreciate it. And again, folks, if you want more information about BMAC and their services, you can view this video at a later time or visit the website online for BMAC and see all of their accommodations, how to contact them. But that's all. Thank you so much, Rosie.
Thank you all for your time. No problem. Have a great evening.
Thank you all so much. And again, this is all being recorded and will be posted on the YouTube page. So if you have any questions, you can definitely view it there, or you can contact us at pfo@CSULB, and we're happy to answer those questions. But thank you all so much for joining the Beach Family Summit. It was great to welcome you all. Have a good night. Until next time.